Hello YouTube, and welcome to my first ever recipe video. I'm making this because one of the most frequently asked questions I get over on my Twitch channel is about how to make beginner-friendly ramen if you don't have access to an Asian market. Now if you have no idea who I am or why I would do this, you should check out my Twitch. I do a couple cooking streams over there every week, many of them featuring ramen, which I've been making at home now for about 6 years. All that being said, let's get into the recipe. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is a really cool apron. Once you have that, grab a mug of coffee since you woke up at 7 a.m. to film this, and let's face it, you've got a long day ahead of you. The soup takes the longest to make, so we're going to start there. You'll need a whole chicken, giblets optional, but make sure it's a good one. Air-chilled, organic, free-range, that sort of thing. $14 is a small price to pay for a gallon of great stock. Don't just throw the whole chicken in the water, we need to break it down. The way I do it may differ from yours, and that's okay. If you need help, there's plenty of videos out there to show you how, but it also helps to make sure your chicken is broken down into the following pieces. 2 breasts, 2 thighs, 2 drumsticks, 2 wings, the chicken frame or rib cage, and the chicken back or spine. Take special care to clean any leftover organs out of the backbone and ribs. These can get a little gross and don't taste great, but you can just pull them out with your fingers. Ooh. Also, make sure you're saving all the skin and fat from every piece you cut. We'll be using that to make the chicken oil later. I also like to slice the drumsticks and thighs like this so that the bone is exposed. When you're done breaking down your chicken, you should have something that looks like this. A big bowl of bones and meat, a smaller bowl of chicken skin and fat, and a single chicken breast you'll be using as a topping. You can sous vide the chicken breast at 145F or 63C for a couple hours if you're feeling fancy, or you can poach it in the broth like I do in this video. Just, wash those nasty chicken hands, please. I went ahead and blanched the bones for about 30 seconds, but this is totally optional and a lot of people say you shouldn't do it. I've done it both ways and I couldn't really tell a difference, other than doing it greatly reduced the amount of scum that came out of the bones. Your call, but if you're feeling lazy, you can skip it. Once you've got everything neatly Tetrised into the pot, fill it with enough water to cover the bones by an inch or so. Our goal is to keep this at about 190F or 88C for between 5 to 6 hours in total, or up to about 9 if you're feeling extra.
We got some scum!
Skim that scum and settle in for the long haul. While that broth is cooking away, we're going to use this time to make some chiyu or chicken oil. Put about 1/8 of a cup of water in a smaller saucepan, and when it's just about to boil, turn the heat to low and add all that fat and skin you saved from earlier. It can help if you cut the skin into small pieces using some kitchen shears, but once the water is boiled away, you should have a good amount of oil in the pan. Before the skin gets crispy, transfer it into the pot with all the bones. We've rendered most of the fat out, but there's still a ton of collagen in the skin, which will help make the soup thick. I got about 50 mils of chicken oil, but I could have kept rendering and got a little more. Next up is my wife's favorite ramen topping, the ajitama. Get a pot of water boiling and add your eggs straight from the fridge. I boil mine for 7 minutes, stirring for the first minute or two to center the yolks. When your timer goes off, your goal is to get the eggs out of the water as safely and quickly as Run some cold water over your remaining eggs, and carefully peel them while rinsing under running water. Once your eggs are all peeled, it's time to marinate. Now there's a million different ways to do this, so I would recommend checking out the Ramen Lord ebook, link in the description below, to find a method that works for you. I'm eating these later in the same day, so I'm just going to go with 1 part each of water, mirin, and soy sauce. I like to use a pint glass for this to reduce the amount of liquid needed, and don't forget to put a paper towel on top and give it a little swirl every now and then to prevent tan lines. Also, I put this in a Guinness glass, but that doesn't mean it's Guinness, so please don't drink it. It's time to talk about tare. Tare is the Japanese word for sauce, and it's used in ramen as a source of salt and additional umami. For this particular bowl, we'll be making a tare made of soy sauce, mirin, and a third ingredient that you can find in your grocery store seasoning aisle, MSG. Alright, whoa, slow down. Now, this is Graham from the editing desk. I wanted to leave a note on here that says, I know you have very strong feelings about MSG. They're very for or very against. But the only reason I'm using this tare is because I committed to only using ingredients from a Western-style grocery store at the beginning of the video. Normally I would use like kombu or katsuobushi to get that umami in there, but because we're limiting ourselves on ingredients, that's why I'm using the MSG in this video. If you have another tare that works for you, go ahead and use it. I'm sure it'll taste great, but if not, just mix these ingredients together in this order and you'll be set. To make the chicken breast topping, simply add it to the broth until it registers at 160F or 72C. Then take it out and chill it in the fridge. Again, using a sous vide on a brined chicken breast is the best way to go, but this method does still work in a pinch. Alright guys. What's your plan for noodles? The way I see it, you've got two choices. You can buy them, or carefully measure out 4 grams of a 4-to-1 ratio of sodium carbonate to potassium carbonate. Add 4 grams of egg white powder to 400 grams of carefully dissolve your consommé mix and 2 grams salt into 152 mils. Add your wet ingredients to your dry ingredients very slowly. Use your hands to evenly distribute the wet parts of the dough. Let the dough rest for at least 20 minutes. Break out your commercial grade noodle machine. Press the dough flat and roll it through your commercial grade noodle machine a handful of times. Use the machine's noodle cutter to cut the dough sheets into noodles. Carefully portion the noodles out into portions of 135 to 140 grams. Alright, there's nothing wrong with buying noodles your first time. If you have fun making ramen and you want to try making your own noodles next time, you can always buy a hand-cranked machine online for about $40 to get you started. About an hour before your soup is done, we're going to add some aromatics to the soup. I'm using about half an onion, a little bit of ginger, a clove of garlic, half a carrot, and maybe a quarter of a head of cabbage. Based on my experience, you don't want to overdo it with the aromatics, in particular the garlic and ginger. I paid $14 for this chicken, so I want the soup to taste like good chicken. Speaking of, when the breast meat is cool enough, slice it thin and season it with some salt. An hour or so after you added the aromatics, the vegetables should have all softened considerably. It's time to say a quick prayer to Ramen Jesus and see how this looks.
Vincent! We happy?
Yeah, we happy.
With the broth done, we're finally in the home stretch and it's time to get ready for plating. Cut some green onions on a steep bias and put them in a bowl of ice water for 5 minutes to improve texture. Get some boiling water going for the noodles, and while those are cooking, use a soup ladle to move 300 ml of broth to another pot and get that boiling too. In a bowl, add 30 ml of tare and about 10 ml of chicken oil. Add 300 ml of your soup and achieve transcendence by watching the constellation of oil float to the top.
The prophecy is true.
Add your noodles, use chopsticks to fold them appropriately, and it's time to add the toppings. Add your egg and place your chicken and green onions wherever you think they look right. I actually don't like too many toppings on my ramen, but if you wanted to add some spinach or sushi nori, I think that would taste good too. Don't forget to save your soup. Having this stuff in your freezer is fantastic, and you can also reuse it for something like miso ramen or tantan men if you want. Just be sure to strain it as you package it to save future you some work. Alright gang, thanks for watching this far. If you give this recipe a try, please let me know. Of course, if you want to know more about how I make ramen, leave a comment and I'll see about doing more of these. Until next time, stay safe, stay kind, and have a good one.